G'day and welcome to Look Who's Watching. My name is Bruce and we are of course being joined by Harry and Isabella, all up in your house, up on your PC. Welcome to the network. Today we're looking at Soul, the new Pixar film. It was released on Disney Plus on the 25th of December 2020. Disney Plus are kind of releasing a few of the Disney bits and pieces online at the moment. They haven't announced, like Warner Brothers, that they're going all online, but there's kind of a bit of back and forth between theatrical and online releases. Soul is the fourth film from Pixar director Pete Docter and Kemp Powers on debut. It's a co-director film. He hasn't directed anything for Pixar before. He hasn't done a short film or anything, so this is his first effort. It kind of follows on, I guess, what Pete Docter's done before. He did Monsters Inc. many years ago, but followed that up with Up and Inside Out, and this is Soul. And it's kind of along the same themes as his films, I feel. So it's about a guy who's a jazz musician by night, but he's a school teacher by day. He really wants to be a jazz performer. He wants to be in the clubs every night, and he's never had that big break. He gets his big break, he has a huge audition, it goes very well, steps out on the street and ends up in the other world. So it's kind of about his soul being separated from his body and him trying to get back to his body. Who did we say the voice is? Jamie Foxx is the voice of the main character. He's very good. And Tina Fey plays a soul that he meets when he's in the afterlife who doesn't want to go into a body. Jamie Foxx, I think, is absolutely sensational in it. And often with celebrity casting, all you can hear is the actor's voice constantly throughout the film. Whereas I found with this particular film, I didn't know it was Jamie Foxx at all. And except, bizarrely, when the character plays piano, all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, it's Jamie Foxx, because he can play piano.
Is it actually him playing piano?
I don't know if he plays piano for himself in the film, but I know that he plays piano. So that's the guy. It's Ray. We know that. We know that he does that. The supporting cast, as always with Pixar, is just extraordinary. And one thing that I've noticed through Soul, and it's happening more and more with Pixar and possibly in Disney as well, they're just getting more and more diverse with the casting they're doing. And it's just extraordinary. Graham Norton has a significant role, and that guy's got some chops. He can really act. Rachel House, the New Zealand actor, she's in Hunt for the Wilderpeople. She is extraordinary. She
really stands out.
Yeah.
Hearing that accent is great.
It's just so good. Richard Ayoade pops up. He's so good in it that he's one of those characters where it's like, I just want more of him. Felicia Rashad, who you probably don't remember from The Cosby Show, I guess, but...
Well, no, I do.
You do?
I remember her from The Cosby Show and both the Creed movies. I grew up with The Cosby Show, wish I didn't.
Just an amazing cast of people. And I don't know about this film, I found it a bit bizarre. Inside Out, which is Pete Docter's previous film, I think is far superior to this film in every way. I think it's a better balance and it's a better ensemble in terms of the way it's written as a better ensemble. The performances of Jamie Foxx and Tina Fey are extraordinary and they're absolutely amazing. I cannot give them enough credit. Whereas the actual film itself just left me, I just felt like it was trying a bit too hard and I just needed a bit more of a let up than the serious tone of this film. I don't know who the film's aimed at. It's fairly squarely aimed at an adult audience, but I don't know at what age kids can actually get engaged in this film, and I'd be curious to watch it, I guess, with a kid. But it's dealing with very heavy ideas and very intense kind of intellectual kind of positioning. There's no real talk of heaven and hell, but it's basically about heaven in its own way. But at the end, I just left feeling it was missing something. I just finished the film and thought, like, it's beautifully animated and there's some great design work all the way through it. As I said, great performances. But the film overall just left me feeling flat and kind of disinterested. I feel like Pete Docter needs to get off his little kind of death theme at the moment and maybe do something a bit more uplifting, I feel. Not that this film didn't finish in an uplifting way. It just was very intense to watch for me.
Uplifting, I see what you did there.
See what I did there?
Yeah, very nice.
I disagree. I think it was better than Inside Out.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, I'm in the camp that is a huge fan of Soul. For me, when I first started watching it, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be about jazz. You know, Soul, the pun of the thing, and they start it with the jazz band. I started off kind of disinterested with the film, and by the end I was curled up in my couch like crying existential tears of joy. They are heavy topics, but I've also been watching The Good Place, and for me it's sort of a similar vibe because it's kind of like a quirky take on the afterlife and the before life and all the realms of existence. And I think that the idea of the before life was really cute. There wasn't a sense of hell at all. There was just a sense of the before and the after. And I think for me, it felt like really good timing for the release of this film after going through isolation because we kind of had nothing to do except experience the sensations, the small sensations of what it was to be alive, which is what this film focused on. You know, all of our goals were put to one side, and that's what this guy had to do. You know, it was all about his tunnel vision obsession with this artistic goal, which he thought would bring him towards some kind of feeling of being alive, which I think is resonated with me as a creative and as a performer. And I think that all the people who wrote the show have probably been through that as well, and that's why it was so accurate. I thought there were heaps of really funny twists when his soul goes into the cat. I thought was really funny. I didn't see that coming. You really wanted him to get on stage and do the jazz gig. Yeah. I liked that time pressure, that there wasn't really a villain, there was just the time pressure of the getting to the gig.
So I found the mum putting pressure on him to have a real job as well as being a musician was weird, because I don't know how old this guy is, and
he seemed in his
really
40s.
Like by the time I'm 40, my mum doesn't care what I'm doing as long as I'm not at her house, you know, like as long as I'm not living in my old bedroom. And like
that was a weird storyline.
I found that kind of a bizarre element, and maybe it's a cultural thing that I'm not aware of, but I just felt that was a bit misplaced. If the character was, I don't know, somewhere between 18 and 25, I'd buy it. But I felt like this guy was about 35, 40.
And she did a 180 really quickly too as well.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
Like it's like, not only do I support your dreams to be a musician, here's your dad's old suit. Off you go.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm at the performance, I'm loving it. She got in the taxi. I don't know why, but that moment where they're like, we're old, we're going to go by, it just keeps resonating with me. Like, that was just such a fun joke.
It's probably the best moment in the
I just feel like that's like my vibe now. At every party, I'm like, I'm old, I'm going to go by.
You get there early and leave early and I'm done.
What a great night, yeah.
Nice. What did you think?
Well, I actually agree with both of you on certain levels. I was disappointed in Soul. I enjoyed the movie, but I was disappointed in it because I felt like a lot of pieces just didn't really merge. It was kind of all over the place, and I liked the pieces, but never really came together for me. So I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5. I did like it more than Inside Out, though, but that's because I didn't like Inside Out.
Yeah, right.
I'm the dissenting minority there. I have a very weird petty gripe with Inside Out because the mythology in the film, I can't figure out if the emotions determine what the emotion characters actually end up doing, or if they determine what the human ends up doing because they are the emotions. I was confused by that and trying to figure that out the whole time. I wasn't losing myself in the gimmicks. It just didn't make sense to me.
That's some deep shit there. That's like, that's Inception level shit.
This guy's smart. I mean, like, fuck a guy smart. You know what I'm saying?
With Soul, I appreciated its ambition. I liked that it was going for a more cultural thing, and I love the diverse casting.
Diversity is amazing.
I feel like I'm exhausted with Pixar. It's just like, I can't see them reaching the heights that they once did. I think Toy Story 3 was probably the last time I think I'm objectively going to really look at a Pixar film and hold it up to a high standard. Because
Toy Story 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's probably the most.
Is that the most recent one?
No, that's Toy Story 4. But
thank God.
Yeah, we don't
sucked.
talk about that one.
Yeah, I'm so pleased.
Yeah,
I just lost count of which one.
Toy Story 4 is the Superman 4 of the series.
Right.
We don't talk about
Toy
it.
Story.
It's not
No, not that bad.
Is Toy Story 3 though the one that ends on the existential like killing of the sacrifice of the aliens?
They're all about to sacrifice themselves and the aliens save them, and then Andy gives away his toys.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
So that is another kind of existential.
One of the saddest moments in cinema history, by the way, is any boy giving away his toys. It's a horrible thought.
Oh God, yeah. I watched that at the cinemas with my dad, my mum, and we all cried collectively. Yeah. It was such a powerful moment.
Although girls giving away their toys is always funny.
I don't know.
Boys giving away their toys is so sad. Yeah. Well, I can tell you, I laughed the whole time.
Everyone's in the cinema, caught up in the emotion, and you're just in the background laughing like.
Did you see that jerk?
I'm at the point where I feel like Pixar's kind of using diversity in a place of new ideas. That film they made, Coco, I loved that visually. I loved what they were going for culturally. Again, the story just didn't touch me. And I feel like it's the same thing with Soul. But Soul I didn't like as much as Coco because it was way more scattered. It was a comedy, and it was about the afterlife and the before life and jazz and African-American identity. And then out of
body switching, and there's overbearing mothers, and it does seem like a confusion of everything.
So you liked the whole comic twist about, Jamie Foxx going into the cat, Tina Fey going into Jamie Foxx's character.
Loved it.
I didn't. I thought, we've finally got a Pixar movie where an African-American character is the protagonist and he's being played by Tina Fey. Yeah. And Jamie Foxx is playing a cat. Kids are going to find that funny. I feel like they didn't have a grounded African-American protagonist. They had an African-American protagonist. They had a whole diverse cast that were played incredibly well by a very talented collection of voice actors. But the characterization was just off for me. I felt like the movie was very much about the soul of the characters as opposed to the characters themselves, which I get because it's called Soul and it's about that. But you know, I still feel like there could have been a more cultural influence at play. A young African American's going to look at this character and see this person as someone that they can see themselves in, or is it he's African American for the sake of being African American, and when the character is a soul, everyone is supposed to identify with that. You know what I mean?
I think that everyone can identify with him as Joe as well. I don't think you necessarily need to look at him and say this is an African American character in order to identify with him. Like, he's a person who has aspirations and dreams, and that is the culture in which he's swimming in. And, you know, it's cool to have those elements involved. Like, I loved the scene where they visited the barber, and he was a very grounded character.
The barber was great.
He was cool.
That was a very good scene.
If they didn't switch bodies, the story would have lost all of its tension. The only tension would have been that Terry, the cubic character played by Rachel House, was coming to find them.
Yeah.
But instead we've got to get out of the bodies and get back in before the show. She's ruining my life.
It gives you a ticking clock to race against.
And how would 22 have even understood what it was to be alive and be in a human body? And if anything, like, isn't that the main source of empathy, to be able to go inside someone else's body and experience their experiences?
I understand your intellectual position on it, and I agree with you. Doesn't make me like the film anymore.
That's cool.
I didn't enjoy the film, even though I understood it on an intellectual level.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're wrong. But even the ending I found a bit bizarre, that he learns his value as a teacher, but then when he gets a second chance, I think he still goes to be a jazz musician. And I
don't think he does. No, I think I think at the end of the film, in that montage.
Yeah, right.
Which we all wept in, right? Really?
It was an emotional part.
It was an emotional montage.
At least acknowledge that it was emotional.
You guys had emotions.
You're a monster. You're a monster.
Why do you think I have this robotic tattoo? I am machine underneath this flesh,
You're a replicant. This is literally, I reckon that I've just recently watched Blade Runner, and if you want to test if someone's a replicant, show them that montage scene. If they don't cry, they're retired.
Replicants are more human than human. So I have more humanity than you do, Isabella.
Sure.
I will fight
Blade
you
Runner 2049 sucks. But anyway, sorry, but it does.
You can't just throw that away. We're talking about soul.
I'm putting it out there. In the montage, which I experienced through Tears in the Rain, I think that was all about him understanding that life is not about tunnelling towards one singular goal in order to find happiness. He realised that all of those moments, like the sensations of sun on your face and wind on your body and like the light in the leaves, were all the little moments that made up life. And he actually even explicitly says, I don't know what it is I'm going to do, but I do know I'm going to live it. I realised all we have is time, but all we need is gratitude.
I think that's a bad lesson.
Oh, snap!
I just think it's a flawed lesson to teach in a 90-minute film. But that's
Why is that a flawed lesson to teach?
Because it's not the whole truth. It's only a part of the truth.
What is the whole truth?
The whole truth is you do need to work hard and be committed and be passionate, but then you also need to enjoy the small things and enjoy the moments in life as well. It's a whole bunch of things. It's not just like the idea that he would finish that film and go, oh, wind in the hair is really nice. I don't need to achieve anything. It's like, well, yes, you've still got to achieve things.
I don't think he said I don't need to achieve anything.
No, I know, but I'm implying that he's saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it says that explicitly. I don't know. At the end of the day, I just don't think it was a balanced film, and I feel like it was, like you were saying, just throwing a whole bunch of things to the wall, giving it a diverse cast, boom, that's the film and we're done. I think there's something missing at Pixar. There's something missing to give the films a little bit more direction and just...
could it be the work ethic? Could it be the will to achieve?
Pete Doctor's been spending too much time in the...
Enjoying the sun.
Running through the fields.
Maybe that was the entire point of the film. They made Soldier to say, we don't need to put ambition into things, so we won't put ambition into this. No, I know, I'm being salty about this. Since Pixar largely specialise in making family-friendly films and they're going to appeal to kids, yeah, this is a really great lesson to teach kids. For me as an adult watching this, one thing I found frustration with is just the fact that at the end of the story, you know, it was pretty clear that Jamie Foxx was suddenly going to go back to where he first started. You know, he's going to learn the lessons. He's not going to sort of pass on. He's going to come back to life and go back to his human body. And it's like, where are the stakes there? I feel like personally, it would have been a much more effective story if he learned all these lessons, then made peace, and then went on to whatever the afterlife was.
But he did. Before he was given the second chance, he says to her, I've had my chance to live, and gives her the earth pass and flies down to earth with her ready to die. He does make that peace, and then he's given the second chance. So we actually have that experience, but then a happy ending.
I think you're right, and that's what the film does. But I think what Harry's saying is, as a viewer, it was inevitable that he wasn't going to go.
Just switch it off after that bit.
And
Easy soul.
You just don't turn it off!
And I'm tired of these films pulling these bait and switches on us, like making us think, oh, suddenly the character's going to go, oh, no, never mind, they aren't. Now, when they did it...
Would it have been horrible if you just went up the escalator to Afterlife?
I don't think so. I think it would have
been great.
It would have been beautiful.
Been bold, would have been daring.
Exactly. And I personally feel like the message would have been a whole lot more effective because he learned all the lessons and made peace, and then he was able to make peace with the concept of passing. Whereas the fact that he made peace with it and then suddenly, yanked the rug out from under you, no, you're back in your body. I feel like that blunts the message a bit.
Yeah.
It's more child friendly that way because, making kids deal with grief and loss obviously is a big thing, particularly for Pixar to do.
It was a great moment. I really enjoyed the moment. But is it necessary for the film?
Actually, I agree. I've got to say, I do think it could have ended with him going up to the afterlife and we would have been fine with it. But I also equally think they could have gone, take a second chance, just to make it a bit happier.
Yeah, and I understand that as well.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. Diverse opinions. What would 5 for you or a 4 out of 5?
4.5.
4.5.
Yeah.
And 3. And
Medium
3.
brown.
Yeah, that's great. That's Soul. It's on Disney Plus. You can check it out at home if you want to. We're also going to be looking at The Dry. Isabella will be chatting about that right here on the network, and Harry will be looking at Wonder Woman 1984. So if you want to watch those reviews, just scroll around. They're right here. They're up there. They're down there. I don't know where they are. They're here. Look who's watching. Bruce, Harry, Isabella.